For this week, we had kind of a destination in mind. It was pretty much a wedding up north, going to equal about 2,000 miles round trip. Now, with all that said, we needed enough room, heck, to deliver us up north. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, behind me, actually delivered just that, plenty of room, and it all came in what you say, a miniature size. Now, if you got my play on words, what I was referring to, well, this is the 2016 Mini Cooper. Now, I'll get into the specific model in just a second, but first things about the Mini Cooper, well, it's from overseas and it's bringing a little bit more pizzazz to this smaller market, and it really finds its own little niche because after all, when you go kind of more small, you do want a little bit more pizzazz. Now, what's great is this is BMW-esque, a lot of interior qualities, nice fit and trim, and heck, it's just a solid vehicle. Now, what's great about this particular week is this is the Clubman. Now, what is the Clubman? Well, what it does is take the Mini Cooper and maybe adds a little bit more SUV-like quality to it. And what I'm referring to really here is the back end. We'll dive into that in just a second. Looking at guerrilla warfare, what you're going to find on the Mini Cooper is a stereotypical front end you've seen for decades. First starting with those headlights at the corners, really more of an insect-like eye, giving you kind of a bugging out look, needless to say. Now when you sweep across the front, that typical open mouth grille, here adorned in black, lower fascia, all this combined not to really look grimacing going down the road, but more of kind of a happy go get 'em. For this trip, the first thing I looked at was really the Mini Cooper and could it, well, measure up. And what I like was with this Clubman, it's going to add that added length. Now, by the numbers, this vehicle measures in about 168 inches, wheelbase around about 105. Now, the width, not too bad, just under 6 feet. Height, obviously fairly short, just under 5. Now, those numbers all come together quite well, and where it truly mattered was in that cargo area. And that's where it truly shined, because after all, we have luggage, golf clubs, and heck, some wedding gifts thrown in. Now, before we get into kind of the favorite area again, which is at the back, one thing I want to note is the little niches in this vehicle. Now, up front, you're going to notice a lot of airflow being able to get around this vehicle and even through it. And where you notice that is right up here in these little lower fascias. They're actually operational, bringing the air through, diverting it right here through this fascia, sweeping around the tires, and even any air tucked in the tire well, that can come out right here on this back fascia just the same. One thing you will notice about the Mini Cooper is it really has nice matching parts. It's not really a plain Jane, really starting at the four corners. Now, what you're going to see here is a 17-inch wheel, nice and adorned in a black coloring. Now, as you sweep up the vehicle, you're going to see other matching parts. You got the body color, but up top, really a black roof, black pillars. The whole upper part really looking separate from the body, and that's stereotypical across the board. Now, it also comes right down to the mirrors, nice black accent here. For a vehicle this size, one thing you expect is more of a go-kart handling and, well, a go-kart-like engine, and, well, that's what it has, but heck, it does quite well. Now, this vehicle comes with two types of power plants, either an inline 3-cylinder like we had, or a more spirited inline 4-cylinder. So let's take a look what's under the hood. Now, what you're going to see is one thing to notice, and that is the twin power turbo right there on the engine cover. Now, for the power, what you're going to see on the 3-cylinder is 134 horses and 162 foot-pounds of torque. Now, it can be equipped with either a 6-speed automatic transmission like we tested, or a 6-speed manual. Now, if you do want a little bit more spunk under the hood, that is the 4-cylinder version, the twin power turbo, just the same. Now, it's going to be more upwards of 189 horses and 207 foot-pounds of torque. Now, that can be equipped instead of a 6-speed automatic, an 8-speed. Now, before we walk away from the engine, some little fun facts to talk about. Now, for the more spirited ride, that's going to get you 0 to 60 in around about 6.9 seconds. Now, here for the 3-cylinder, you're going to get there in about 2 seconds slower. Now, what's also great is the top end speed on the bigger engine going to be around about 142 miles per hour. This one, only 127. Now, one last thing, this go-kart feel really transcends with the overall sit, because we're only about 5.6 inches off the ground. Now, one of the things I like to talk about really is entry into any vehicle. What I like to talk about is really smart key systems. Now, in this particular model, well, we're not going to talk about it because it's pretty much the old school version. Hit the unlock, open it up, and go. Now, one other feature is really the locking and security of the fill-up area, or what we call overseas the petrol. Now, what you have here is pretty much the old standard. It's going to be locked when the vehicle is locked, and I really like that. A lot of vehicles just aren't doing that. Once you unlock it, really easy to access. Now, one thing to note, this does have the old cap system versus the new capless a lot of vehicles are going with. Swinging around to the back end of the Clubman, this is truly the big difference when it comes to this Mini Cooper, really outsizing the other models in the family. And this is where it truly shined during our vacation. Now, it all starts really here with the dual swing out doors, and I'll show you them inside in just a second. But the other features on this back end are pretty nice. What I like is the nice built-in spoiler, and again, the top half of this vehicle really adorned in black, giving you kind of that multifaceted accents all the way around. Now, swinging down, I like the chrome, that matches all the other handles across. Nice actual bumper on this vehicle. Other vehicles pretty much going straight down on this one. This one actually had a little bit of curves at the back end. Now, when you look back here, as for safety, got nice sensors built in, really ultrasonic, being able to dive in to those tight spots when you need to. And of course, there's a backup camera tucked in low. Now, before we get to the best part of this vehicle, really what lies behind these doors, let's talk about the features, well, of the doors. Now, you can go the old traditional method, pull on the handle, pull it open, but let's do a little bit sleeker than that. And that's simply by pressing the button and letting it swing open. Now, one thing to note, that does have a little bit of oomph behind it, so stay away from kind of walls in this area because it's not going to stop until it hits it. Now, once this is open, you can easily access this other door. It's going to give you a wide opening really to access that rear cargo, and that's what this vehicle is truly all about. Now, what you're going to see here is about 17.5 cubic feet of space, and that's going to rival even a full-size sedan, in some cases a modest SUV. Now, what you can also do is fold those second row seats down. That's going to easily more than double the amount of space. What's great is that second row split gives you multiple options for your cargo choices. Now, diving into the cargo area a little bit more, really to explain how the luggage gets in here, is really stacking it right here worked really well, and we actually found that our golf clubs slipped into this area quite nicely, leaving the second row for maybe hanging items and things like that. But pretty much all of our luggage went in here. Now, one thing we found late to the equation was right here under the cargo floor. And what that was a nice little niche area. And this really worked well coming back, putting like the shoes for the wedding and things like that tucked under here, little loose items. Now, even better, to keep this in place, pop it up here and you'll find these little holders. That's going to allow you to leave it there until you store the items. Then simply pull down and tumble it back forward. Climbing inside the Mini Cooper, this is where it truly feels a lot bigger regardless of the models, because heck, the headroom, legroom, and even the width here feels quite nice. Now, when you look at the legroom numbers, what you're going to find up front, around about 41 inches, kind of average across the vehicles across the board. Now, in the back, to be expected, around about 34 inches, and there's just enough room up here maybe to slide forward to creep that number up just a hair. Looking at the front seats, the first thing you'll notice really is the leather suede combination. Leather all the way through the center with a little bit of suede accent on the side. Now, these front seats are really sport inspired, maybe drawing from that go-kart like experience, really bucketed and really tight through this area. Now, one thing I noticed was the passenger side seemed a hair tighter than the driver's, but that could be just me. Now, as you sweep down, you're going to find comfort all the way around. Not too bad in this area, really finding decent width to slide in easily. One thing I did like was right through here, adding a little bit more thigh support when you need it. When you climb inside, you may look at the seats, but the first thing you're really going to notice is right here at the center of the dash and the huge circular entertainment area slash system right here front and center. Now, it's adorned in LED lighting, which is really spectacular. We'll get into that in just a second, but it's all centered around this nice entertainment screen system. Now, what you're going to notice is some lower buttons down here. Didn't really use them a lot, mainly because of the central knob between the front seats. Now, that central knob really comes into play, really allowing you to navigate with ease. Now, once you find what you're looking for, press down. It's going to zoom in a little bit more specific into different areas. Now, what you can also do is split this screen. We have the navigation on this side, the radio on this side. Really houses everything with ease, and with that central knob, made navigating it so much easier. Now, when I was talking about the LED lighting, there's lots of it all the way around, and you can change that depending on how you want the mood in this vehicle to feel. But what I found is this is really interactive. Now, it can be as simple as you pressing the gas, and this really accentuates as you do it. Now, another feature really was it connecting with the navigation. Now, what that did is when you got to maybe your turn, what it would do is it'd be normal illuminated, but right before that turn, the entire area would turn white. That got your attention and let you know, heck, I got to turn here. As soon as you did that, went back to normal illumination. This really is an interactive area, not just lit. Looking lower on the dash, this is more the operation of the vehicle, the climate control, start, stop, and all that. Now, what I like is this is dual zone climate up front, really dial specific temperature right here, nice oversized fan speed right in the middle. Pretty much everything you need for climate, real simplified through here. Now, when you scroll down, this is the old toggle switches that have been around and known in Mini Coopers. And what I like is the start, stop function on this vehicle. Doesn't matter which way you do it, it's going to start and stop depending on which mode you're in. Now, one thing to note, this is kind of a dual stop, meaning you'll stop it to turn it off, make sure your foot is off the brake, press it again to turn all the remaining electronics off. Looking through the center, what you're going to find is the old gear shifter. Now, it does have a manual-like mode, pretty much shifted over manual if you need it, and on this particular model, I'd forget about it. Now, what you also have is the driving dynamics. Now, that's found right here with a little toggle left and right. Now, there's three different modes. There's a sport, a mid, and a green. Now, mid is pretty much a normal mode, going to have normal driving dynamics. Now, you put it in sport, we did notice a little bit more get up and go, and changes a little bit of the illumination going on in the car. Now, if you want to watch the kind of gas and fuel economy on this vehicle, put it in green. Now, what that does is automatically start the on-off feature. Like when you get to stop signs and such, it's going to turn off the vehicle. Now, what's great is, unless you're in that mode, this is pretty much always in normal driving mode, and the engine never really shuts off. Now, the central control knob I was talking about earlier, this is common in a lot of vehicles, and what it does is pretty much house everything right here at your fingertips, allow you not to have to reach for anything, but more or less set your hand down on the center console, and it's right there. Now, these are some nice shortcut buttons, really getting to the different navigation areas, the radio, the media, telephone, and navigation. Now, the menu is going to be pretty much your home screen. Now, if you ever get lost in all this, simply hit the back button. It's going to get you back to some function. Now, this will actually go circular all the way around and actually toggle left, right, up, and down. And depending on what mode you're in, makes this so much easier to navigate when you're looking at the screen. Looking here at the back seat, this is again comfort for 5 people all the way across, and again you can kind of make cargo flow into this area on different ways and different setups. Now, one thing to note when you want to tumble these forward, made real easy. This is like a 60-40 split back here. One little handle, pull on it, it's going to tumble forward. Now, it does take a little bit of oomph just to get past this because I'm in the full back position, but once it's down, one nice flat area, really transforming it into cargo when you need it. Now, you pretty much can tuck that back out of the way, and what you're going to see back here is nice sculpting of seats on the outer portions, a little bit of a hump in the middle. And one thing you won't find is any center armrest. There's just not enough room for it. Now, does for this edition reward and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2016 Mini Cooper Clubman. Now, what's great is this really handled the open road, handled all of our gear, and it all came down really to that back end, giving this vehicle a lot more size than you'd expect. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.